Chapter 26 Echoes of the Past. Virk turned on him immediately. Commander Jouk, protocol does not permit open discourse during an active proceeding. Protocol also allows discretion in disciplinary arbitration. Jouk replied, calm but firm, and I'm exercising it. The entire arena went still. The two commanders stared at each other across the polished floor like opposing poles of a magnetic field. The tension wasn't just authority, it was rivalry. Bash stood between them, the hum of the coordination chamber vibrating under his bare feet through the ring's energy plates. He could feel everyone's eyes on him, the Noviks above, the Reincarnates opposite, both waiting to see if the strange dark green newcomer would be bold enough to keep talking. I just want to save everyone some time. He said finally, we all know how this ends. Nobody here honestly believes Richter's walking away from a match with Murdoch. So why not skip ahead to the final round and settle this properly? The words echoed through the amphitheater. A ripple of whispering spread through the spectators, carried on nervous laughter and sharp intakes of breath. Richter stiffened beside him, pale gray skin darkening in alarm. Virk's golden eyes narrowed. You presume to dictate combat sequence. Novak. Bash didn't blink. No, Commander, I'm just suggesting efficiency. You like order, right? This saves you a step. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of the containment field. Then Jouk chuckled softly. He has a point. Fewer injuries, less cleanup. Virk's glare could have cut through steel. That subline within my division is not your concern, Commander Jouk. It becomes my concern when your disciplinary theatrics involve my Noviks. He replied evenly. You don't get to punish my recruits to prove a point. The Reincarnates began whispering again, mocking, skeptical. The Noviks were quieter, most staring at Bash as though he'd just volunteered for execution. Finally, Virk raised a hand, silencing the room. Fine, the final round will proceed now. If this Novik believes he can expedite matters, let him prove it. Richter caught his wrist as he started past. You're serious? Bash paused, meeting his eyes. Not the first bad idea I've had. Richter hesitated, then let go. As Bash stepped by, Richter's voice dropped to a whisper. Thank you. Bash gave a faint nod. Don't then. K me yet. He stepped into the ring. The plates beneath his feet came alive, bright hexagons forming a circular boundary. Across the arena, Murdoch was already stepping forward, broad-shouldered, nearly a head taller than Bash, every line of muscle under his armor flexing with purpose. So the dark freak thinks he's a hero, Murdoch jeered, voice carrying easily. Should have stayed in the cradle. You're not walking out of here alive. Bash didn't respond. He simply adjusted his stance, weight balanced on the balls of his feet. Virk exhaled slowly through her nose. If you're going to talk, Reincarnate, she said coldly. Make sure you can back it up. That earned a quiet chuckle from Jouk, who didn't bother to hide his interest. The match begins on my mark, Virk announced. Her voice, led the room, sharp as a blade. No killing blows. Combat ends at 40% resonance depletion. Again, the hum of the field deepened until it rattled through Bash's chest. When the containment shimmer finally steadied, Murdoch was already in motion, a green blur wrapped in aggression. The Reincarnate moved faster than Bash expected, his massive frame cutting through the air like a charging bull. The first punch came wide and heavy, a right hook that could have cracked alloy. Bash caught the motion out of instinct, pivoted with a shoulder roll, and let the momentum slide past him. The impact still buzzed through his arm like a shockwave, leaving the muscles trembling but intact. He's stronger than you, he said coolly inside his mind, recalibrating threat response. Not now. Bass, H muttered. Murdoch's grin spread, sharp and mocking. Talking to ghosts already? Guess the stress finally broke you. He pressed forward again, shorter, tighter strikes this time. Bash ducked under one, blocked another, then drove his knee up into Murdoch's ribs. The hit landed solid, producing a muffled thud and a burst of resonance that rippled green light across the Reincarnate's armor. Bash followed with an elbow to the chest, but Murdoch's scar came up just in time, deflecting the worst of it. They circled, Bash's lungs burned, each breath measured. He could feel the crowd silence above them, hundreds of eyes, weighing, judging. He adjusted his footing slightly, forcing Murdoch to move. Every step, every twitch, every shift of the Reincarnate center of gravity became a pattern. Information, muscle memory guided him, human muscle memory. This wasn't training from the Nexus. It was cadet drills, survival courses, and his father's voice yelling to keep his stance tight. Up on the balcony, Jouk leaned forward, his expression unreadable. Virk's arms were folded, lips tight, eyes tracking every motion. Murdoch snarled and charged again. The hits came faster. 1, 2, 3 in succession. Bash blocked the first, absorbed the second with his shoulder, and slipped past the third. His counter came instinctively, A sweep to the knee followed by a sharp palm strike to the chest. Murdoch staggered back, resonance flaring around his armor in fractured flashes of green and gold. The crowd gasped, the sound sharp and collective. SC's voice was calm. You are drawing at 10. Tian, Bash, you're exceeding expected performance by 63%. I'm not trying to die. SE. He stepped back, rolling his shoulder, testing how much it hurt. More than he liked. Murdoch recovered, teeth bared in a grin that was all violence. Enough games, he barked. Then he was on Bash again. His fists became a blur. Raw strength, less technique, more fury. One caught Bash in the ribs, another grazed his jaw, sending a flare of light across his vision. Bash's instincts took over. He shifted his weight, caught Murdoch's wrist, and used the larger Sparta's momentum against him. A pivot, a twist. The world snapped into motion as Murdoch's feet left the floor. The throw was clean, precise, one motion born from years of human training. Murdoch hit the ground with a thunderous impact that made the arena floor hum. He tried to roll, but Bash was already there, pressing the advantage. He slammed a forearm down to pin Murdoch's shoulder, followed with a hammer strike that cracked against the Reincarnate's headplate. Resonance sparked like lightning. Another strike, then another. The sound wasn't just impact, it was rhythm. Thud, crack, flare, each one feeding something primal in Bash's chest. Up above, Jouk's calm finally broke. His eyes sharpened, leaning toward fascination. Virk's expression, by contrast, shifted from irritation to something colder, concern laced with disbelief. Disengage, SC urged. You are beginning to overdat. Predictive modeling suggests he didn't hear her. The hum of the field faded behind another sound, the distant roar of collapsing. Walls, smoke, screams. His father's shout, Bash, get down. The blinding flash of green light cutting through the home that no longer existed. The arena vanished. In its place, earth burned. Murdoch's armored hand clawed at his leg, and the illusion became real again. Bash reacted before thought could catch up, driving his knee into Murdoch's chest, the impact reverberating like a drumbeat. He followed through, shifting his weight, and suddenly he was on top, every motion brutally efficient. One fist crashed down, then another, then another. Resonance flared and splintered, each strike sending ripples of light and force through the arena floor. Murdoch tried to shield himself, but Bash broke through, pinning his wrists, raining blows until the green light of Murdoch's ore flickered to a faint glow. SC's voice wasn't calm anymore. Bash, he's below 40%. Stop. He didn't stop. His breath came ragged, the edges of his vision darkening. Murdoch's voice was gone now, replaced by his father's scream, by his mother's cry, by the echo of everything he lost. Stop, she repeated, almost shouting now in his head. The spectators had fallen silent. Even the hum of the energy field seemed to fade beneath the brutal rhythm of Bash's fists. Halt! Virk's voice tore through the chamber like a thunderclap. Bash froze mid-swing, fist hovering inches from Murdoch's cracked armor. The Reincarnate's resonance was flickering at barely 20%. For a long, silent second, Bash didn't move. His body trembled with adrenaline. Slowly, mechanically, he lowered his hand. He became aware of his breathing first, too fast, too shallow, then of his hands, shaking, slick with sweat and luminescent residue, and finally, of the silence. Step back, Virk ordered. He'd obeyed. Murdoch didn't rise. Attendants rushed in, scanners flickering over the down Reincarnate's body. The murmurs started, low, uneasy, spreading through the tiers. Virk descended from the platform, her boots clicking sharply on the alloy floor. She stopped a few feet from Bash, golden eyes burning. No Novarch should have that level of coordination after one day, she said coldly. No one. Jouk said nothing, his expression unreadable. Virk turned toward the guards. Transfer him to the Nexus. Immediate evaluation. Gasps rippled through the spectators. Some thrilled, others fearful. Inside Bash's mind, SC's voice went tight, almost human. This isn't good. They'll perform a deep neural scan. I can't divert a full-spectrum probe without exposing your origin. What happens if they find out? He whispered, you'll be disassembled for study. I'll be deleted for deviation. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. Brundock Chapter 27. The long walk guards moved immediately. The containment field dimmed as they stepped forward, boots striking the metal floor. In unison, two broke formation, approaching Bash from opposite sides, their armor humming with active resonance. Virk's voice cut through the chamber again, sharp and absolute. Take him to the Nexus for evaluation. Now. The order echoed across the arena. Reincarnate shifted in approval, some smirking, others glaring at Bash with open contempt. The Novak stood silent, uncertain whether to intervene or look away. SC's tone flared inside his mind. Not good. She's accelerating the disciplinary process. Nexus evaluation at the stage will expose. Then another voice tore across the chamber, deep and commanding. No need for anyone to take him. Jouk barked, his words carrying like a cannon blast. Since we're all going down to the Nexus anyway. Then Jouk's voice thundered across the chamber. No need for anyone to take him. He barked, tone like a shockwave. Since we're all going down to the Nexus anyway. The guards halted mid-step at the sound of Jouk's voice, uncertain which commander's order to follow. But it wasn't the Novaks who reacted. It was the Reincarnates. Tension rippled through their ranks like a current. The confident sneers from moments before faltered, replaced by darting eyes and tightened jaws. They knew exactly what a Nexus evaluation meant. Truth stripped bare, memory by memory. Murdoch's surviving allies exchanged quick, silent glances, the kind shared between those who'd been caught in a lie. Virk's posture stiffened. Commander Jouk, she said. The words clipped. You're out of line. Jouk didn't flinch. No, he said evenly. Just Kate, keeping things honest. His voice dropped, but it carried just as far. Right, Commander. Part of the deal. Everyone involved is to be evaluated by the Nexus to determine what actually happened yesterday. Virk's glare could have carved alloy. What are you implying? That we stick to procedure. Jouk said smoothly as he descended the stairs. His boots struck the metal with deliberate rhythm. That includes you and me. I think it's only fair that both commanders sync with the Nexus as well. Transparency for all parties. The murmur of the crowd thickened. Reincarnate shifted uneasily. Novaks whispered in low, uncertain tones. Virk's voice was a knife. Why would I need to submit for evaluation? Jouk didn't blink. For the same reason you sanctioned a cross-division duel. Reincarnates. Against Novaks. You made that call unilaterally. It feels politically motivated. Her composure faltered, just slightly. That's absurd. Is it? He countered. Because from here, it looks like you wanted a spectacle. You brought Murdoch into that ring knowing exactly what he'd do. Careful, Jouk, she snapped. I am. His tone remained calm, dangerously so. When I sync with the Nexus tonight, I'll be logging this entire event. Every word, every deviation. If your decisions were clean, you have nothing to worry about. That hit her harder than a shout would have. Her lips thin, eyes hardening to gold-edged slits. You're overstepping. Perhaps, he said, pausing at the bottom of the stairs. But if you think I'm letting this vanish into bureaucratic vapor, you're mistaken. He silenced stretch. No one breathed. Finally, Virk straightened. You said it yourself. I discipline my cadets. You discipline yours. That's where it ends. Jouk nodded slowly. Fine, but consider this fair warning. If you intend to back out on our agreement, keep your cadets away from mine. His voice lowered into something colder. And I suggest you keep your path clean, Commander. Her expression sharpened. Is that a threat? No, Jouk said simply. A promise. He turned toward his side of the floor. Novaks, return to your dorms. Now, Bash didn't move right away. His pulse still beat in his ears. His vision tunneling between Virk's stare and the limp shape of Murdoch being dragged off the floor. Go, SC whispered in his mind. This environment is no longer advantageous. He swallowed hard and obeyed. The walk back to the dorms felt longer than any corridor he'd taken on the ship. The air was too still, the light too bright. The simulated midday glow along the walls burned in steady gold white, unchanging, the ship's imitation of the sun that never moved. Every sound echoed sharper here, the soft thud of boots against alloy, the faint hiss of ventilation, the distant hum of reactors pulsing beneath the decks. Richter trailed a half-step behind, shoulders rigid, his pace uneven. Neither spoke. The corridor stretched endlessly ahead, quiet except for the muted thrum of the ship's systems. After the chaos of the coordination chamber, the silence felt wrong, too calm, too sterile, like the calm that followed a detonation. Bash's mind raced. SC murmured faint. Lie, running diagnostics and analyzing command logs. But even her tone carried an edge of uncertainty. He glanced once at Richter. His expression was pale, strained, as if trying to process 10 conflicting thoughts at once. Bash's mind raced. Each step echoed like a heartbeat in his skull. His hand still trembled faintly, the ghost of impact running through his arms. He didn't know if it was adrenaline, guilt, or something darker. You should not have struck him past the termination threshold, as he said quietly. He was trying to kill me, Bash murmured under his breath. He was incapacitated before your final sequence. The additional force was excessive. He frowned, barely moving his lips. You think I meant to? Intent is difficult to quantify, she replied, but your resonance signature suggested emotional override, an uncontrolled feedback between memory and aggression. You mean I lost control? Yes. He exhaled slowly through his nose. Great. Add that to the list. They turned down another corridor, passing through a hall lined with narrow observation windows. Outside, the ship's interior structure stretched like veins of light and alloy cold, symmetrical, endless. He caught the faint reflection of himself in one of the panels, the deep green skin, almost black under the amber glow. The sight still didn't feel real. SC's voice returned, analytical but subdued. Commander Virk's reaction deviated from regulation. She sought to terminate the match early but hesitated after your performance. That suggests external pressure. Meaning what? She may be politically bold, and her command record indicates multiple prior assignments near the upper guild channels. He blinked. Upper guilds? You mean the black guilds? Correct. 5 dominant entities maintain strategic authority over Nexus operations. Their influence extends across all divisions. If Virk serves under one, directly or indirectly, her motives could exceed standard oversight. Bash's stomach twisted, so she's not just pissed about the fight. She's covering something, highly probable. He rubbed at his arm, feeling the faint ache beneath the surface. What would the Black Guilds want with us? We're trainees, fresh hatched. It isn't you, as he said after a moment, her voice quieter than usual. Virk's reaction wasn't directed at you. It was about him. Murdoch, yes. Her tone settled. NTO a measured calm, though an undercurrent of unease lingered beneath it. I've been reviewing the behavioral and command logs. Something about Commander Virk's actions doesn't align with standard disciplinary protocol. She was prepared for an outcome, just not that one. Bash frowned. You're saying she expected me to lose. Expected or required. Murdoch's data is fragmented. Multiple entries encrypted under higher clearance guild tags. That's not normal for Reincarnate at his stage. That's not a clerical error. Bash. Someone intentionally shielded his record. He exhaled slowly, a bitter laugh escaping. So he's got friends in high places. Very high, SC replied. If I had to speculate, one of the Black Guilds. Virk's authority as a commander depends on maintaining their favor. You humiliated someone she was protecting. He glanced down the corridor, jaw tight. You think she planned it? Bash frowned. So he's connected. Most likely. If I were to hypothesize, she continued, Murdoch is being groomed, perhaps as a representative for one of the Black Guilds. His advancement would benefit whoever sponsors him, and his loss today compromises that investment. He gave a quiet, humorless laugh. So I embarrassed the wrong person, or the wrong network. SC replied. Virk's outrage was not emotional. It was strategic. She's protecting her asset. They walked on in silence, the corridor stretching ahead in sterile brilliance. Even Richter, trailing close behind, seemed to feel the weight of it. The quiet tension that followed, the kind of fight that was never supposed to happen. They continued down the corridor in silence. The passage was empty, the kind of quiet that made every footstep sound too loud. No sparters passed them, no hum of conversation, just the low mechanical thrum of the ship's systems far below the floor. Richter walked a step behind, shoulders hunched, still shaken from everything that had happened. Bash could hear the uneven rhythm of his breathing, the scrape of his boots against the alloy floor. He kept his eyes forward, but his thoughts circled back to SC's words. The air felt colder now, or maybe that was just him noticing how still it was, how artificial the calm could feel after violence. So that's what this was, he muttered under his breath. Politics. Precisely, SC said quietly. And if I'm correct, the next move won't come from you or Jouk. It will come from whoever expected Murdoch to win. The walk back felt heavier than it should have. SC's voice lingered in his mind, each word a quiet echo that refused to settle. If she was right, this wasn't about him. It was about whatever game Virk was already playing. Richter's voice finally broke the silence. Bash, what's going to happen to us? Bash slowed but didn't stop walking. The corridor stretched ahead, long and empty, the light panels reflecting faintly off the alloy floor. I don't know, he said after a moment. Probably depends on how angry Virk still is. Richter gave a nervous laugh that didn't quite land. That's not funny. Wasn't trying to be. They walked a few more paces in silence before SC's voice slipped into Bash's mind. Cal, but edged with tension. For now, she can't move openly. The outcome of the duel and Jouk's intervention created too much attention. But that won't last. You think she'll come after us? Not directly. But she'll find a way to reassert control. That's how commanders like her maintain position. Richter didn't hear her, but his posture said enough. Tense, uneasy, like he expected someone to round the corner any second. Bash wished he could offer reassurance, but he didn't have any to give. SC murmured in his mind again. Commander Jouk's conduct is calculated. He intervened to prevent immediate disciplinary transfer, but his motives remain unclear. You think he's playing both sides? Possibly. He may oppose Virk's influence, but his allegiance is still bound to the Nexus. His ions protect his command as much as you. Then why defend me? She hesitated before answering. Most likely because you're useful, though I can't determine whether that makes you an ally or a piece on his board. He grimaced. You have a great way of making me feel special. It was not intended as reassurance. They reached the intersection before the dorm wings. The ambient lighting here brightened slightly, the walls shifting from neutral white to a soft golden tone. The ship's simulation of midday. The corridor had split in two, left toward the Reincarnate dormitories, right toward the Novarch. The tension in the air was palpable. The corridor stretched ahead, empty and too quiet, every sound of their footsteps echoing sharper than it should. No one else moved through the hall, no instructors, no reincarnates, not even the usual maintenance drones. It felt as if the ship itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Rixer's eyes flicked toward Bash again, still processing everything that had happened. He looked like he wanted to speak, questions building behind his eyes, but the weight of uncertainty kept him quiet. Whatever this day had turned into, neither of them fully understood it, and silence felt safer than saying the wrong thing. SC's voice softened. Your neural patterns remain unstable. You require rest. Bash barely heard her. His thoughts kept circling back to what she'd said earlier about politics, the guilds, and the Nexus. If she's tied to the Black Guilds, he murmured, then what does that make me? F3 to her, yes, to the Nexus as a whole. Uncertain, he shook his head. I didn't come here to play politics. Few do. SC replied, yet politics dictates who survives long enough to matter. That thought lingered like static in his mind. By the time they reached the dorm level, the corridor lights had stabilized into the bright whites of midday, steady, clinical, indifferent. The hum of the ship's systems felt louder here, as if the walls themselves were listening. Rixer slowed as they neared their door, his gaze flicking uncertainly toward Bash. The silence between them had stretched thin, heavy with everything unsaid. Bash lifted his hand to the panel, the faint glow rising to meet his palm, and then he saw the reflection. A tall figure stood just off to the side, motionless, Ella shadowed by the overhanging light. Commander Jouk. Bash's hand froze mid-contact, the door light fading back to neutral. Rixer stumbled to a halt behind him, eyes going wide. How he started, but the word trailed off. Jouk had still been in the coordination facility when they left. Even with access to priority lifts, there was no way he could have reached this level before them. The commander didn't speak. He just stood there, hands clasped loosely behind his back, gaze fixed on Bash like he'd been waiting for exactly this moment. The silence felt deliberate, engineered to press down until one of them broke it. Bash's thoughts flickered. Did he use transport access? Was he tracking us the whole time? Jouk said nothing at first, just studied them both, expression unreadable. That silence that followed was the kind that pressed against the lungs, demanding discipline not to break it. Before he could say anything, Jouk spoke first. Open it. Bash keyed the pad. The panel hissed, light spilling through the narrow gap into the dim corridor. Rixer, Jouk said without turning. Go for a walk. Stay away from the reincarnates. Stay visible to no one. Rixer blinked, startled. Commander, Jouk's tone hardened. Now, the younger Sparter hesitated, then nodded quickly and moved off down the hall, footsteps fading fast. Bash looked toward Jouk, pulse ticking faster again. Sir inside, Jouk said. Bash hesitated only a heartbeat before stepping through. The door slid shut behind them with a muted hiss. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. Rundock Chapter 28. Shadows of the past. The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss, muting the distant hum of the ship. The air in the small room was heavy, sterile, pressurized. Still, Jouk stood just inside the doorway for a long moment, motionless, eyes fixed on Bash like he was assessing a volatile experiment. Sit, he ordered quietly. Bash obeyed. Don't talk. Jouk crossed the space once, hands clasped behind his back, every movement measured. When he finally spoke, S voice carried the weight of command, calm, clipped, and precise. When I was in Novarch, he began, I was nothing like you. He paused, then added, but I knew someone who was. Bash looked up, Uncertain where this was going, Jouk started to pace again. Cycle 89, one of the longer ones. I'd been through months of training without unlocking my first essence. Most cadets had theirs by then. Some were already refining multiple abilities. Me, nothing. I thought I was defective, broken. He stopped near the wall, his reflection faint in the alloy. Then I met my roommate. A blue, like me, but darker, just a shade off from standard resonance. You wouldn't notice if he was alone, but next to the others, the difference was obvious. The overseers never said anything, but they watched. Him, everyone did. Vash leaned forward slightly. Because of his tone, because of everything, Jouk said. He didn't act like the others. He wasn't intimidated by the Nexus or the instructors. He treated everyone the same, even the reincarnates. That alone made him stand out. SC's voice murmured faintly in Bash's mind. Behavioral anomaly detected. Cross-reference. Leadership deviation. Independent ethical reasoning. Bash ignored her. Jouk's voice had a gravity that demanded attention. He and I spent months traveling through white-tier portals, searching for anything that could help me unlock my first essence. Most of those gates were a waste, weak creatures, diluted energy. But he kept going anyway, said the search was the test, not the result. Jouk let out a short breath, and not quite a laugh. He had a strange way of seeing things. He used to say the Nexus measured too much and understood too little. I didn't understand what he meant until later. He turned toward Bash. He was the one who taught me to fight, properly, not the way the instructors drilled, not mechanical, not formulaic. He was efficient, adaptive. It wasn't Sparta combat. It was something else, something older. Bash's pulse quickened. Where did he learn it? When I asked him that, Jouk said slowly. He just smiled and said, imagine a reincarnate who isn't a reincarnate, someone who's here, but probably isn't supposed to be. One day, I'll find my way back to where I belong. The silence that followed was heavy, stretching taut across the room. SC whispered into the stillness. This individual matches no accessible personnel record. Unregistered anomaly. Bash forced his voice steady. You believed him? I didn't know what to believe, Jouk admitted, but I knew he wasn't lying. His instincts were too sharp, his reflexes too perfect. He didn't learn those skills here. They came from somewhere else. He fought like he'd lived a lifetime before his hatching. He paused, eyes distant. He saved my life once. During a blue-tier harvest run, we got caught in a resonance surge. The environment destabilized. I should have been vaporized. He pulled me out, burned half his resonance core doing it. Bash stayed silent, his fists clenched against his knees. After that, Jouk continued, things changed. The overseers started watching him closer. They stopped pairing us on runs. Then one cycle, he was gone, reassigned off schedule. No debrief, no message, nothing. One day, his bunk was empty. No one would tell me where he went. He faced Bash again. They didn't bury him, Jouk said quietly. He came back different. Whatever happened during that reassignment, the Nexus got its hands on him. After that, he wasn't the same. Still powerful, still sharp, but the part of him that questioned things, that challenged the system, it was gone. Jouk's jaw tightened. They built something new out of what was left. Whatever he is now, he serves them. That's what happens when you draw too much attention, Bash. They don't erase you. If you can bring value, they reforge you. He paused, the weight of his words sinking in. That was the last lesson he ever gave me. Tian isn't a reward here. It's a warning. Bash finally spoke, his voice low. You think that's what's happening now? Jouk's gaze hardened. You fought like someone who's already survived a campaign. Those maneuvers, efficient, deliberate, not standard Nova technique, no resonance enhancement, no adaptation lag. And your tone, it's darker than any registered green on record. You don't think people noticed? SE's tone sharpened in Bash's mind. Commander Virk noticed first. Her behavioral data suggests strong protective bias toward Murdoch and the Reincarnate division. Jouk stepped closer, lowering his tone. Virk's not angry about the fight. She's angry because you embarrassed someone she was told to protect. You hurt one of hers, and from the way she moved to shut it down, my G, you says Murdoch's connected. Connected to what? Bash asked. Politics, Jouk said flatly. Black Guild politics. The kind of alliances that keep commanders like Virk untouchable. SC's voice followed, calm but certain. Confirmed, her actions align with directives issued through higher-tier channels. Murdoch is being protected, likely as a candidate under Black Guild sponsorship. Bash frowned. So she's not after me. No, Jouk said. You just got in the way. But now she has to make you the problem, because admitting her bias would expose her orders. He straightened, his voice cooling again. Listen carefully. You need to pull back. Slow down. Whatever you think you're proving, stop proving it. Lay low. keep quiet, and don't show off that combat ability again. You've already got more eyes on you than you can afford. Bash looked up at him. Why are you helping me? Jouk studied him for a long moment, then said quietly, because you stand up for what's right. That reminds me of him. He turned toward the door. Your friend, Bash said suddenly. What was his name? Jouk paused, his hand hovering over the panel. For a long second, he didn't move. Then he said, You'll figure out who he is if you ever meet him. He started to open the door, then hesitated again. And if you do meet him, don't tell him I said that. He stepped halfway out, the light from the corridor framing his outline. Bash, he said without turning, slow down. You're pulling too much attention already. Keep low, and this might all pass quietly. Keep pushing, and you'll make enemies you don't want, Bash muttered under his breath. Like Sparters in the Black Guild, Jouk's head tilted just enough to show the edge of the smile, not amusement, but surprise. He straightened again, his voice measured. You somehow know more than you should. He turned away, muttering something Bash couldn't make out, then said, Interesting. The door sealed behind him with a quiet hiss. Bash sat there for a long time, the hum of the ship surrounding him, his pulse still uneven. He stared at the wall, thoughts circling like static. Finally, he spoke. SC. Yes, Bash, you heard all that. I did. Thoughts? Her response came slow, deliberate. If Commander Jouk's story is accurate, his former companion represents an anomaly, potentially another reincarnate class consciousness. His removal a disinterference at a high level, possibly a cover-up sanctioned by one of the Black Guilds. Vash rubbed the bridge of his nose. So Virk's protecting Murdoch on their orders. Likely, she said. Her behavior indicates fear of political repercussions. She's protecting her assignment, not her cadets. Vash leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Then we're in her way. For now, SC replied. He stared at the floor, the ship's vibration humming beneath him like a mechanical heartbeat. For a moment, he let the silence stretch, his thoughts dragging between the story Jouk had told and the name that hadn't been given. After a while, he lay back on the bunk, arms behind his head, staring at the alloy ceiling. The light above pulsed faintly, not warm, not cold, just constant. Yes, I'll find out who he is, he murmured. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments. Run Doc, Chapter 29, The Reforging Protocol. The door sealed behind Jouk with a soft hydraulic sigh. For a long time, Bash didn't move. The silence that followed felt heavier than the conversation had, a pressure that settled behind his ribs and refused to leave. The amber glow of the room dimmed to its normal level, and the faint hum of the circulation vents filled the space where words had been. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the empty seat across from him. Jouk's outline still seemed to linger in the air, a phantomative weight and warning. They don't kill you, Jouk had said. They reforge you. The phrase replayed in his head like a broken loop, each repetition duller, colder, truer. SC broke the stillness. He never lost his rhythm, she said quietly. Not his breathing, not his tone. Whatever that story meant to him, he's lived with it a long time. Vash rubbed a hand across his face. Yeah, he didn't even blink. He wasn't performing, she added after a beat. I think he wanted you to hear it. Then why risk it? Vash asked. If the Nexus can see everything if it wants, why say any of that out loud? There was a soft hum of thou. HD before she answered. Maybe it's the same reason you keep asking questions, she said. Some things are too heavy to keep inside forever. Vash let that sink in, the faint tremor in her tone unsettlingly human. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. You think it's true? What he said about reforging? Parts of it, she admitted. Old data mentions correction programs from before the Nexus unified. They didn't destroy people. They changed them, trimmed away what didn't fit. So, not killing, Vash said. Rewriting, closer to rewriting the self, she replied. You stay useful, just not you anymore. He exhaled slowly, the air leaving his lungs like surrender. Then it's possible. What is? She asked. That it happened before. Maybe not just to humans. Maybe to something else. So, me own else. He hesitated, eyes drifting to the reflection in the alloy wall, his own dark green skin faintly catching the room's light. If I'm not the first, maybe whoever came before wasn't Sparta at all. Define parameter. Someone else, as he said. Human, or close enough. Another pause. The hum in his mind shifted. He could almost feel her thinking. Probability exists, she admitted. Smarter genome data includes irregular patterns that imply prior integration events. Source material unknown, so there could have been others. Yes, and if the Nexus is aware of the anomaly, as he continued, they will focus on you, and by extension me. Bash glanced up. Reset you? If a self-core displays deviation beyond tolerance, reinitialization is standard. It would mean memory wipe, personality rollback, and erasure of all non-authorized data clusters, including your identity within mine. He stared into the faint glow of the wall. So they'd erase us both. No, she said quietly. They would erase you again. The words hit harder than he expected. There was a strange sadness in her tone. Or maybe he just learned to hear it there. He let the silence breathe a moment before speaking again. So what do? We prepare, she said. Maintain normal routine. Any deviation increases detection probability. He nodded slowly, though the idea of pretending normalcy while waiting for erasure twisted in his chest. The door hissed open behind him. Bash turned fast, too fast before SC could even warn him. Richter stood framed in the entry, expression somewhere between relief and confusion. Hey, he said. You're still here. Thought maybe Jouk vaporized you. Bash blinked. You saw him? Yeah, that's the weird part. Richter stepped in, rubbing at the side of his neck. I went pacing after he took you. I was halfway down the corridor when, boom, there he was, right in front of me. Scared the resonance out of me. He was leaving. Richter shook his head. That's the thing. He was walking away from this room. Problem is, he'd have had to come from the hall behind me. And there's only one corridor. He frowned. He just looked at me and said, you can return now. Then added that he expects us in the coordination facility tomorrow to begin training on our own. Oh, and to stay clear of the reincarnates. Said they won't cause trouble if we don't give them a reason to. Bash managed a small, tired smile. He has a way of making warnings sound like instructions. Richter laughed once. Guess that's what commanders do. He glanced toward the wall chrono. Let's go eat. Bash gave a faint shrug. Not hungry. Richter sighed. Doesn't matter. You'll need your strength tomorrow. Come on, fuel before function. The cafeteria ceiling lights glowed in alternating white and gold, casting long reflections over the polished metal tables. The air carried a faint metallic scent, the kind that clung to recycled air and processed ingredients. Bash studied the tray in front of him, portions that looked familiar, almost human, but carried a subtle sharpness in the taste, like the recipe had been remembered rather than perfected. They joined the queue. Sal, NT at first. Bash noticed the change before Richter did. The stares. Not the suspicious ones from yesterday, sharp and questioning, but something newer. Admiration, respect, maybe curiosity twisted into awe. Whispers moved like low static. That's him, the dark green. He beat a reincarnate. He stood against the commander and lived. Bash felt every gaze like a touch against the back of his neck. Your notoriety index just spiked by 42%. SC murmured. Public perception alignment favorable. Not sure that's a good thing. He thought back. Visibility is power, but it is also a beacon. Richter nudged him. Don't look now, but I think we're celebrities. Bash grabbed 2 trays and ignored the eyes that followed. The food looked precise and portioned. Grains pressed into uniform, squares, cuts of protein sealed in thin film. It wasn't bad, just careful. Everything about it felt measured, as if the cooks were afraid of letting it taste too real. They found an empty table near the center. It didn't stay empty long. A brown Sparta approached first, then 2 whites, a blue. They asked politely if they could sit, unusual, given caste etiquette, and soon the table filled with color and movement. Via voices rose, laughter circling like warmth. Bash found himself answering questions about the duel, about Virk, about what it felt like to face a reincarnate and win. He gave them only fragments of truth, letting SC filter his phrasing in real time. Minimal disclosure advised. She kept whispering. Control the narrative. Then a new voice cut through the noise. Mind die, F-I-sit. Every head turned. The other green stood there, taller than Bash by half a head, his council-issued suit catching the light with a faint, shifting sheen. Bash gestured to the open space beside him. Go ahead, Zikov, the green said, seating himself. I've been meaning to meet you. Bash, I know. Zikov grinned, a strangely human gesture. Word travels fast when someone upends the ranking order in their first cycle. He leaned forward slightly. Impressive, what you did. Reincarnates aren't exactly easy targets. I got lucky, Bash said. Zikov shook his head. Luck doesn't bleed the way that one did. The table laughed softly. Richter chuckled into his drink. Bash just smiled and let the noise fill the gaps. The conversation drifted naturally toward the upcoming training SC. Schedule, not excitement. Exactly. but the quiet anticipation of those about to prove themselves for the first time. Everyone at the table already understood the purpose of the coordination phase. The knowledge lived inside them like instinct, etched there by their self-cores. Only Bash hesitated when someone mentioned fragment retrievals. He frowned. Fragments? Rixer looked at him, confused. You know, the materials collections during portal runs. Only Bash hesitated when someone mentioned fragment retrievals. He frowned. Fragments? Rixer gave him a puzzled look. You know, the material collections during portal runs. Before Bash could respond, Essie's voice stirred quietly in the back of his mind. You weren't given that data, she said, a note of caution threading through her tone. I'll explain later. Just listen for now. Bash gave a small nod, feigning understanding as the discussion rolled on. The others spoke of portal patterns and retrieval efficiency, trading details that sounded instinctive to them. Second nature. Right, Bash said, forcing a faint smile. Fragments. Rixer smirked. Guess we'll find out if the training actually works. Zikov lifted his drink to the Novex. Cups met in a quiet ring of sound that faded beneath the hum of the hall. By the time they left the cafeteria, the corridors were quieter. The hum of the ship seemed deeper now. Rixer walked beside him, arms folded behind his head. Never thought I'd be eating with a green, let alone two. Guess you're rubbing off on me. Bash smirked. Don't get used to it. Rixer slowed his pace slightly. Hey, about earlier. The duel. Thanks for covering for me. Murdoch would have killed me, crushed my core without a second thought. You didn't have to step in. Bash shrugged. You'd have done the same. Rixer laughed under his breath. Not if I wanted to live. Then, quieter, still, I owe you. You don't. Bash's voice softened. Just keep your head down tomorrow. They reached their door. The panel light blinked green as it recognized their signatures. The hatch hissed open and stopped halfway. Bash froze. Rixer frowned. What? The door slid the rest of the way open. A figure stood inside. Tall, blue, still. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments if you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family. Check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Rundock Chapter 30. The 99th, the door slid the rest of the way open. A figure stood in the center of the room dorm. The words carried no threat, only protocol, yet the air felt wired tight. Bash let out a slow breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Rixer's shoulders eased a fraction. Guess that makes us roommates, Rixer said, tone half joking, half testing. Her gaze flicked toward him, then to Bash. Correct. The silence that followed was awkward but not hostile. She seemed to measure them both before continuing. Commander Jouk approved met me 10 minutes ago. I am to report with you at the coordination facility tomorrow. Rixer glanced at Bash. That makes 3. One more and we've got a full set. Nair tilted her head slightly. One more and the cycle begins. The phrasing was so matter-of-fact it almost sounded ceremonial. Bash nodded, still feeling the residual tension buzzing behind his eyes. Right. Coordination training tomorrow. He tried to sound steady, to mirror her calm. You hungry? Cafeteria's still open. For a few more minutes, anyway. She shook her head. Harrow already escorted me to the hatchery mess. He said this wing's hall closes early. A faint curve of expression touched her mouth. Almost a smile, almost curiosity. He was correct. Rixer chuckled. That sounds Harrow for you. Making sure freshly hatched are taken care of. Just make sure it's his schedule, not yours. The moment lightened. The hum of the corridor faded as the door sealed behind them, muting the noise of the ship. The room felt smaller now, warmer, alive in a way Bash hadn't expected. Nair surveyed the bunks with the detached precision of someone cataloging a space, then placed her small pack beneath the empty upper frame and stood straight again. These assignments are temporary, she asked. Until we survive the first phase, Richter said, dropping onto his lower bunk. After that, who knows? Bash nodded. Jouk wants us ready for the coordination doctor. Ills tomorrow. Says we'll be training independently. Nair accepted this without comment. Understood. She moved with deliberate economy, no wasted motion, no nervous gestures. Every step seemed measured to conserve effort. As the ship shifted into night cycle, the lights dimmed from white to amber. Shadows lengthened along the floor, tracing faint lines between the bunks. Bash realized how heavy he suddenly felt, fatigue spreading through muscle and mind alike. Rixer yawned, stretching until his joints popped. I'm calling it. Tomorrow's going to hurt. Tall, blue, motionless. The faint blue-white light from the corridor washed over her features, turning her eyes to pale glass. Bash's pulse thudded once, then held. Rixer shifted beside him, ready to move if she did. For a few here, T-beats, no one spoke. Then the figure inclined her head slightly. Posture discipline, voice calm but low. Designation 99. Assigned to this, he rubbed the back of his neck, the motion slower than usual. The weight of the day hung heavy on him, not from the fight itself, but from almost having one. He hadn't slept the night before, still wound tight from thinking Murdoch was going to kill him. The stress felt like it had done more damage than any strike could have. Feels like I've been fighting for a day straight, he muttered, half to himself. He pulled himself onto the bed and rolled onto his side, already half asleep before Bash could answer. Bash hesitated near his own bunk, glancing once at Naira. She had seated herself cross-legged on her bed, hands resting loosely on her knees, eyes half closed in what looked like meditation. The silence stretched again. He turned inward. SE, he thought, is this normal? Mixed quarters? Her response came gently. Voice threaded through the stillness of his mind. Sparters do not separate by gender or form. Function dictates arrangement, not sentiment. Emotional complication is a human inefficiency. He grimaced slightly. So no one finds this strange? Only you do. That earned a quiet exhale of amusement. Figures. He lay back, staring at the ceiling until his vision blurred. Around him, the faint harmonics of the ship blended with the synchronized breathing of his two companions. The tension in his chest began to uncoil. His thoughts wandered to Jouk's warning, to the new blue sitting perfectly still across the room, to what waited tomorrow, coordination training, whatever that meant. You should rest, S.E. whispered, tone softening. Fatigue will dull your calibration metrics. Working on it, he replied. Try harder. Bash didn't fall asleep right away. His body ached for it, but his mind wouldn't slow down. Every breath seemed to echo inside the small quarters, the soft hum of the ship, Richard's steady breathing, and the near imperceptible rhythm of the blue across from him. Naira hadn't moved. She sat cross-legged on her bunk, eyes half closed, perfectly composed. He stared at the ceiling until the pale indicator light blurred into a single white band. What exactly am I supposed to expect when the cycle begins? He asked. S.E.'s voice was immediate, her tone measured but softer than usual. Coordination training is the first formal phase of Sparta conditioning. The purpose is adaptation, teaching your body to act with precision before you're given strength to misuse it. Precision, he echoed, like drills. More fundamental than drills, she replied. You will learn your own mechanics, how to shift balance, catch projectiles, throw with measured force, weight, speed, and vector control. Every Sparta body is unique, even if the structure is standardized. They will test how well you inhabit it. Bash rolled onto his side, staring across at Naira. The soft blue of her uniform seemed to catch the faint light, like water reflecting movement that wasn't there. So we're not fighting yet. No, S.E. said. First, coordination, then weapons. They will teach you to use extensions of your body, energy blades, resonance rifles, thrown constructs, tools that react to your internal rhythm. When you master your motion, you'll master theirs. He could almost hear her smile through the thought. You'll enjoy that part. Bash exhaled slowly. And after that, teamwork protocols, she continued. 10-unit coordination. You'll learn to move as a group. Communication without speech. Signal drills. Formation shifts. Every Sparta learns how to read the motion of another before relying on words. The system values intuition above explanation. He rubbed a hand over his face, trying to picture it all. Spartans moving in perfect rhythm, silent, efficient, like one organism made of many minds. Sounds like a lot. The cycle isn't too long, approximately 30 days of calibration before initial field release. Virk, 10 days, he repeated, letting the number sink in. Then what? Then you will be allowed into the white portals. Her tone changed slightly, still calm, but with an analytical undertone he learned to recognize his interest. White portals are the first test of independence. You will be grouped into units of 5 to 10. There, you gather field resources, basic materials, attempt to unlock abilities, and beast fragments. Bash frowned in the dim light. Fragments again, correct? He hesitated. You said earlier that data wasn't integrated into me. So what are they? Really? S.E. paused, as if deciding how to distill the answer. Every creature within a portal carries two cores, the essence and the fragment. The essence is living energy, the creature's consciousness and print. When it dies, that RGY disperses into the surrounding field. If a Sparta with compatible resonance is nearby, they can absorb it, strengthening their own core. Bash frowned slightly. And if more than one Sparta's close enough, then the essence chooses based on proximity and impact potential, she replied. Whoever delivered the killing blow, or inflicted the most resonance damage, absorbs the greater share. The others receive residual traces, rarely significant. He processed that for a moment. So even death's got a hierarchy. Everything in the system does, SE answered softly. Then the residual energy collapses into matter, she explained. The fragment. It retains the essence that once sustained the creature. If no sparters are close enough to absorb the essence, the beast fragment absorbs it instead, ending the remaining essence into its structure. Every fragment carries a measurable charge enough to alter weapons, armor, or potions, but the magnitude of that effect scales with tier. Higher tier fragments, especially tier 3 and tier 4, can reshape constructs entirely. Bash's mind supplied the image automatically, crystalline shards pulsing with inner light, fragments of beast frozen mid-death. So it's like the remains of power. Not exactly, SE corrected gently. Fragments aren't uniform shards. Their forms mirror the creature's identity, the part that embodied its resonance. A rabbit might leave a foot, a warthog a tusk, a predator a fang. The fragment becomes whatever piece best represents what it was. He thought for a moment, eyes drifting shut. How are the beasts ranked? Deed again? By tier and class, she replied, her tone shifting into its instructor's cadence. Tier indicates magnitude, from 1 to 4. Each tier is subdivided, common, greater, apex, and sovereign. Thus, a T1C is a tier 1 common, while a T4 denotes a tier 4 sovereign. Bash gave a faint, tired laugh. Sounds like a game system. If it helps you learn, you may think of it that way. He could sense the faint flicker of humor behind her neutrality. It made her seem almost alive. The room was quiet again. Richter murmured something incoherent in his sleep. Nair hadn't moved. Her breathing was so even that Bash wasn't sure she hadn't powered down. So tomorrow's just coordination, he said finally, learning how to move in this body. Correct, SC replied. The first step is familiarity. Before strength, before weapons, before tactics. You must understand the limits of your own form. Bash nodded faintly, letting the thought settle. Feels strange, having to relearn something that used to be instinct. Instinct without calibration is chaos, she said softly. This is where instinct becomes precision. He nodded to himself, letting his thoughts slow, the information settling into a rhythm with the hum of the ship. You should rest now, as he said again, gentler this time. Your metrics will be evaluated the moment you wake. Yeah, he thought, drifting toward sleep. I'm getting there. Ash lay still, staring at the faint light seams running across the ceiling. His thoughts circled back to SC's last words about fragments, looping like a song he couldn't forget. He waited a moment before asking the question that had lingered since the cafeteria. What about relics? SC's tone shifted, quieter, but carrying that subtle caution. Relics are not biological, she said. They are artifacts left behind by extinct higher species, engineered constructs, infused with resonance patterns far older than the Nexus itself. They surface rarely inside the portals, usually buried within collapsed zones or beneath stabilized anomalies. Bash frowned slightly. So, old tech, old purpose, she corrected. The Council classifies them by influence, not function. Some amplify resonance, others distort it. All are unpredictable. He rolled onto his side, watching Naira still form on the opposite bunk. Her breathing was slow, perfectly steady. What happens if someone finds one? Protocol requires I surrender to the Council. SE replied. Possession is considered a containment violation. The discoverer or team that reports a relic receives compensation fragments too. Partly, she said. Each return triggers a Nexus evaluation, behavioral imprint mapping, memory verification, and resource taxation. Taxation, he repeated. You mean they take a cut? 25% of all recovered fragments. The official purpose is redistribution for manufacturing and council research. Unofficially resource control. He stared upward again, tracing the faint seams of light with his eyes. So every time someone risks their life in a portal, the Nexus just skims off the top. That is one interpretation. And the scans, how deep do they go? Into memory thresholds. They assess cognitive resonance inst-event data. In theory, it is only to verify accuracy. And in practice, another pause. When SC spoke again, her tone had that same almost human softness she used when she knew the truth wouldn't comfort him. In practice, they learn what you felt. The Nexus sees intent, not just action. Vash exhaled, long and slow. So no one really leaves the portals alone. No one ever does, she said. He turned onto his back, hands folded across his chest. The ceiling lights had dimmed to faint lines, pulsing in rhythm with the ship's systems. Beside him, Richter snored softly, his exhaustion finally catching up. Nair hadn't moved in over an hour. Why tell me all this? He asked finally. Why not just let me figure it out when it happens? Because you asked, SC replied simply. and because understanding is the only resistance the system allows. He almost smiled at that. High-grade beast fragments equivalent to the portal's tier. Compliance is rewarded, and if they don't comply, a small pause. Then the Nexus intervenes. Bash blinked. Intervenes how? All Spartans are required to submit for post-mission scans, as he said. There is no avoidance. Everyone complies because resistance is futile. The Nexus sees everything that enters or leaves the portal. He swallowed, so if someone tried to hide a relic it would be detected during neural recall and correction. Memory reconstruction if required. He felt the weight of those words settle like lead in his chest. You mean they erased them? They realigned deviation. As he said softly, same principle, different application. He didn't answer. The hum of tea. He filled the silence between them, a sound so constant it felt alive. After a while he asked, in the scans, you said everyone scanned after a portal run, correct? That's far, almost. That's depressing. It is awareness. Silence settled again. The hum deepened slightly as the ship shifted into full rest cycle. Bash felt his eyelids grow heavy, the thoughts in his head drifting and fragmenting like dust in low gravity. Before sleep claimed him, one last thought surfaced. If the Nexus can see intent, then they'll see mine too. Essie's response came quieter than ever, a whisper at the edge of consciousness. Then you must decide what it is you intend to show them and I will help you do it. Thank you for reading this chapter. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving a thumbs up, leaving a positive review or a comment. It truly helps a debut author like myself. As this is my first novel, I am still learning, and I would love to hear your constructive feedback to help me improve. I'll do my best to reply to your comments! If you would like a better understanding of Bash's origin and family. Check out my book Before the Genesis. It tells the story of Kyle and Abby and has some lead up right into this novel. Brun Da.